Hi friends, I'm really glad you're here today. Welcome to part 2 of our extremely satisfying fall garden cleanup video. And today we are going to be in my enclosed garden, so I'm pretty excited. This is going to be extremely satisfying. Before we jump into the video, I'd like to take a moment to express our condolences to one of our subscribers here. This subscriber has been with me since the beginning of the channel, almost 5 years ago. And she's also a really good friend and neighbor whom I've known for about 45 years. Her mom just recently went home to be with the Lord. She and her mom were very close. They were very good friends. I think they were probably best friends. So I want to take a moment just to say, dear one, please know that we are praying for you and our hearts are really going out to you. I won't mention her name here because of her privacy, but if you'd like to leave a comment with your condolences and tell her that you're praying for her, that would be so helpful. I know she would really appreciate it, and I will be sure and pass those condolences along to her. We'll take a minute to take a quick look around the garden. I think we did get a bit of a frost last night. This ornamental kale is looking so good right now. And here's another variety of another type of ornamental kale. I brought my rakes out because we'll probably be needing those. This bed over here is still looking really good, although I can see the Celosia probably did get hit some by frost last night, a little bit. And I did take a lot of the blooms off of that for drying. This one definitely got hit. You could see where that got hit last night by some frost. This is all California Poppies here that self-seeded itself. Look at that. So that's going to winter over. And in the spring, I will have more California Poppies. That's all self-seeded. They self-sowed themselves there. In between the California Poppies, I had pro-cut sunflowers in there, so those seeds that were hiding under there, but this little bed is still looking kind of cute with some marigolds and some pansies. And then this lisianthus is the very last one hanging on. Look at that, it's just been hanging on. I did promise in part 1 of this series that we would take a look at this Rosie Posie Agastache here. I mean, look at that. And this luminary pink phlox from Proven Winners, still throwing off a few blooms. That's done really well. And the other two Agastaches, they're the same, Rosie Posie. I had to move those over just a little bit. I had to adjust them, so it definitely threw them back a bit. They didn't grow as well as this one, but they will next year. But look at that. I am loving this Agastache, and it's a perennial. In fact, this whole bed is perennials. This is the mini cottage garden, mini English cottage garden we put in with bricks from here on the farm. And they are close to 100 or over 100-year-old bricks. And then some echinacea. It's all pink. It's a pink, kind of a pink explosion. But this is what we're going to, one of the things we're going to tackle today. All of this self-seeded Celosia, it's time for it to go. There's still a little bit of bee action on it, but I have plenty of other things. I have salvia in other places that I will be leaving for the bees. So they're going to have to put up with me taking this Celosia away. I can tell it definitely got a little bit hit last night by a frost. I strongly suggest this time of year, if you are cleaning out your garden spaces, you wear gloves. And I'm speaking to myself here mostly because sometimes I get anxious and forget. But at this time of year, you might see some of the poisonous or some of the caterpillars that actually sting. I've already seen one on the Zinnias. It's one of those, I can't remember which one. It's not the saddleback. I ran into 2 of those last year. Thankfully, I've not seen any yet this year. Hopefully I won't. They are awful. Their sting is very hurtful. I have the gator behind us here. I'm going to start pitching what I am taking out into the gator. And I'm going to be moving around the garden doing the different things. We're going to be cutting back the dahlias. Most of, let's see, three of my dahlias, I think, I'm going to leave in the ground. I am in a zone 6B7. That is just a little iffy for me to leave the dahlias, but the Diva dahlia, when we get to that, I'll show you. That one I left in the ground last year, and I'm going to cover it. I don't have any mulch right now, but I'm going to cover it with just a little heaping of mulch, wood mulch, and hopefully it will survive. So we're going to be moving around the garden, and I will speed up the video or just have it in segments so we won't have it too long, because it's going to take me probably a good hour and a half to clean out, maybe 2 hours to clean out this entire garden of what we're doing. And you can bet I am looking for the caterpillars, that stinging type caterpillars. I do not want to run into any of those. Look at the stalk on this one, or the stem or whatever. Look how that's major. This is all self-seeded Celosia. This bed, once we unearth it, is actually in the spring, it will be beautiful with, it's got different bulbs that I have planted here, different varieties of daffodils and different varieties of tulips that I don't have anywhere else, that I'm letting perennialize, and some alliums, different things like that. So I did not, because I didn't plant any of the Celosia, I don't feel like it disturbed any of the bulbs. You know, it grew from seed. So I will say that if you run into any of those stinging type caterpillars, they are higher up into the plant, more near the foliage. So if you grab it from the bottom, you probably will be okay. This is extremely satisfying, my friends, extremely satisfying. So now I'm just going to rake this up a little bit, and I have 1 bag of leaf compost left from the summer. I'm going to go ahead and dump that on the top, because I'm sure this Celosia pulled a lot from the soil. When I do make my own leaf compost, I will top it off as well with my own leaf compost, or my own leaf mulch, I should say. Just going to go ahead and use the whole bag on here. All right, well, that bed is done, and I was thinking about cutting back the Echinacea, but still has a few little seeds on it, so the birds will eat on that. So we'll leave that. But I think we'll move on to the Zinnias. These are Benary's giant Zinnias. I may switch back to a bedding plant type Zinnia next year rather than the Benary's giants. I've grown Benary's giants for years, and I do love them, especially if you're doing a lot of cut flowers. And when I was doing a lot of cut flowers, the Benary's giants were perfect. But since I don't do as many cut flowers anymore, I think I'll switch back to a more bedding plant type, which only get to about 18 inches tall rather than 5 feet tall. And I'll be putting my umbrella away for the winter as well. All of my umbrellas, putting them away. So that's a satisfying thing to do, as well as your hoses, your hose reels if you have those, your hoses, your timers. Take all those in for the winter. Very satisfying part of gardening cleanup. So now we'll move on to these 2 dahlias. They really got hit by the wind and broken off a couple of times, but I'm just going to go ahead and cut them back, and then when I get the mulch, I will just mound it up. This is the stalk from one of those dwarf sunflowers that I planted. I will never ever plant those again in this garden space. Under this obelisk is a dahlia under here near this trailing verbena, and it is I think it's Kelsey and Joy, which only got like this big. I didn't care for it. I thought it was going to get bigger, so I might try to dig up the tuber of that. I don't want that to stay. There's a weed. Even though there's a few blooms left, they're pretty much full of bugs right now, last minute bugs and a few buds, but it's time to go ahead and cut these back. I don't know if I said, but that one we just cut off is Diva. That's the one that wintered over from last year. And this one is, whoops, and this one is Milena Fluer, so we'll see if it winters over. Well, that was another extremely satisfying fall garden task. While we're right here, we'll go ahead and take this Celosia out. And I don't know if it rooted all the way down. It did not. Well, that's good. In this bed we had Dahlia I and Cornel. I'm going to try to dig Pooh, if I can differentiate which one is Pooh and which one is Cornel. But before I dig Pooh, I'm going to go ahead and cut back the foliage, and then we'll try to dig that tuber and we'll leave Cornel. The other thing we have in here is a bicolored sage. I forget exactly which sage this is, but it should make it and be fine and come back for me next year. I think before we start working on this, I'm going to go ahead and take up this sprinkler. And I do have some caps on order for my hoses. I'm not going to dig my hoses like I usually do. They're all pretty well drained. I'm just going to, that got moved around a little bit. I'm just going to leave them for the winter, and I'm going to put a cap on each end so that critters won't crawl. And I'm going to put a cap, well, that's already got a thing there. Ooh, that needs to be cleaned out. But this will be put away. So this is part of our extremely satisfying fall garden cleanup, to put these things away for the winter. I do like Pooh, Dahlia Pooh, but I'm ready to do something different. Although it will be another open pollinated dahlia for the bees and the butterflies. I just probably want to go with a different color. And you can see here this Celosia that self-seeded itself. It kind of got away from me. It sneaked in there and got away from me. All right, I have a digging fork here. Let's see if we could dig this tuber up. I don't know. Oh boy. That one's in there. Okay, that is a lot of tubers there. Some of them broke, and that can be divided like probably right down the middle, it looks like. I would just take a knife, slice it right down the middle to leave all this section probably. Look at all the tubers that one plant produced. That's a lot of tubers. Definitely don't want to break my fork because it's what I use for turning over my cold compost. We got that out. Yay! Satisfying! This tuber's coming out. It's just some of it is breaking. Look at that. These are massive tubers. So 2 more things we'll do in this video today is we'll cut back this Heliopsis. This is a perennial. So most of the things in this bed are perennials except for this Cleome. This is an annual, and it has just done so great. I've done Cleome in this corner for the last couple years, and I love it. But this Heliopsis just is so beautiful during its bloom time. Then there's an Echinacea. These I grew from seed. These are Canterbury bells, and I thought they were going to be like the ones I grow for cut flowers, but they're not. They're a perennial, and they do not bloom the first year. I guess they're going to bloom next year. I don't know how many years it takes. I think it's only the 1 year. So they will survive and hopefully bloom the next year. So that would be fun. And then there's a yarrow in here, and there's a lobelia in here. So, but we're going to cut back this Heliopsis. And this Echinacea, the birds have pretty well eaten the seeds. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it back. I'm just going to cut it down to the foliage. I'm not cutting the foliage off of the Echinacea. I'm just cutting the bloom stalks off. While we're right here, we'll cut the old blooms off of this Crepe Myrtle, and I have geums growing in here too. These are the geums. I already cut the bloom stalks off of those, and there's lupins growing in there. So they should all be fine over the winter. And then this is a dwarf Crepe Myrtle. I'm just cutting off the old bloom. All right, another satisfying job done. So if you watched the first video in this series of the extremely satisfying fall garden cleanup, you saw where we planted tulips from Longfield Gardens, and they sent me 10 free Delnashaugh daffodils. So because we have spring bulbs that will come up in this bed, I'm thinking I'm just going to plant maybe all 10 right here. Oh, they're so nice, such nice bulbs. And you want to plant your daffodils 6 inches deep. I can make a little trench here and get several in, I'm thinking. Well, that turned into more of a garden task than I thought. I'm not sure this one was extremely satisfying, but it will be in the spring, right? When those beautiful peach and white daffodils. I'm about ready to call it a day, but I do have to take a couple loads to the compost heap, and then of course, as always, go check on the bovine, see what they're up to. I hope you'll stick around for part 3 of our extremely satisfying fall garden cleanup. I think in the next video we will clean up the annuals in around the house and around the front and the back, and probably cut back a few things. And then if we want to go on with a part 4, I'm going to go ahead and cut back my perennial gardens this year rather than waiting until spring, because the birds have pretty much eaten all of the Echinacea seeds, and the other things need to be cut back. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cut them back now instead of waiting till the spring. I really appreciate you spending time with me in the garden. I hope you're able to get some extremely satisfying garden cleanup in your gardens or whatever you do. Let me know what's going on with you. Until next time, friends, happy gardening. Bye-bye. I guess I should give you a little look-see around, kind of what we did. See where we took out the dahlias, we cut back the Heliopsis. There's the tubers, massive tubers. I will be taking my hose reel in shortly. This is where we cut back the foliage on the 2 dahlias that were in this bed. So look how nice and tidy that looks. This is where we took out the Benary's giant zinnias. And we will be, as I said, reconforming those iron fence pieces there so that I can fit all 3 in there. And finally, this is what we did first. Took out all that Celosia, which is there, and we planted those daffodil bulbs. So that's what we did today.